Hi everyone, it's Shade Raven here with another episode of Game of Throws, where we play Pathfinder 2 on the excellent virtual tabletop fantasy grounds. And tonight I have a usual assortment of my friends here. We have Garrick, who is playing a human swashbuckler for our Pathfinder Society session.
Elf. Half elf.
Oh, half elf, yeah, not just human. He's got some of that in it. We got the
Yeah, that gives it a little bit more arrogance.
yes, you can go haughty on us now without, seeming to be out of character. We also got the catfolk witch by the name of Kiss.
Wow.
There you go. And then finally, this one will seem completely foreign to anyone who's ever seen our Pathfinder Society stuff before. The Orc Barbarian Shepherd.
And may or may not be useful.
Yeah, we'll find out in this session. But they're getting a chance to start with a whole new scenario. We're picking up one, again, this one from season one, actually the first scenario that came out. The group had, well, most of the group, Shepard is a new character to this, very similar to Hundar, who you'll see in other episodes. They had some success defending some cargo as it went through Immonwood, and now they're about to pick up their next mission from the Society. With that, we will kick off to where the group is going to begin. So for you guys, it starts with you've come back to the lodge, and you have had at least a week or so to kind of settle in and relax, enjoy some of the acclaim that comes with it. But later on, you kind of get resummoned. Maybe one of the things you find out is while that first mission went pretty well, it was as much a feeling out process. You get the impression that they just wanted to make sure you guys were competent. So as you come in, and the next week comes along, and you're thinking, well, how useful we are now, you get kind of told you're still pretty much initiates, and that maybe it's time for you guys to get to know some of the more important figures from the Grand Lodge. And so you get an invitation to a evening of introduction. So with that, here's the note you get from Janira Gavix.
Oh, we're going to be congratulated. Huh.
So with that,
Sounds like fun.
yeah.
Want to hit things.
What was that?
I just want to hit things.
Well, I'm glad I had a week
I don't
to
wanna-
rest.
I don't want to. I want to go to some congratulatory.
Oh, Shepard, you'll be okay. Don't worry about it. We'll, right afterwards, we'll probably go on another mission.
Yeah, then you get the hits.
This is the first time you've met me.
Oh,
But
yeah, that's right.
you sure look a lot like the guy we traveled with last time.
Are you guys related?
I don't know what you're talking.
So Janira is for whatever reason she's become sort of the grand initiate. So they sort of singled her out as sort of a special role, and that's who you get to know. She's at least in passing that she's sort of a bubbly character, a little halfling. And you expect that she'll also be at their Skyreach Tower. So unless you guys have anything else you'd be interested in, I could just have you show up. We'll fast forward to the night that the festivities are, and you can show up at the tower. We'll pick it up from there.
We know how we're supposed to dress.
Yeah, it must be formal. Fancy? I
Well,
don't know.
Think.
you could certainly,
I always like wearing fancy
Yeah.
clothes.
I mean, you certainly don't, maybe not expected to wear, full armor and, brandishing weapons. This is supposed to be sort of a
No,
have
Shepard
much of
is
a clue either way.
100%.
Loincloth.
he expects to have to prove himself at every turn.
Definitely bringing my axe in full armor. How about you guys?
Oh, I'll bring my stuff, but I'll wear maybe a nicer cloak.
So, trying to dress at least for what you think might be a little more formal occasion, you head over to the tower. And it seems as though the entire Grand Lodge has an air of celebration on it. The great gates are flung wide, and the phoenix trees lining the entry are in full flame. Pretty cool sight. You guys have come across before, but every time you see it, it's certainly breathtaking. The halls of the main tower of Skyreach, normally somber and reserved, echo with the sound of voices and music. The great ballroom is decked for a celebration, with colorful banners and bunting along the walls, tables replete with food and drink, and jovial cacophony of conversation rising from Pathfinders of all ancestries, nations, and backgrounds.
See that 3 times fast.
That
Exactly.
word again.
Yeah, the cacophony thing. It got me before. Curse you, cacophony. After a quick scan of the room, it's obvious that many of the attendees have gathered in small groups here and there. A half-orc woman in an iconic ship captain's hat stands near a punch bowl, handing cups to anyone who passes within reach. A dark-skinned half-elf leads a small group of new agents around the room, introducing them to the other attendees. Several senior agents stand in quiet conferral with a dark-haired Taldan man with a distinct chin-strap beard, while a scholarly dwarf tells a rousing tale to a growing audience. A familiar blonde halfling woman bounces over, bubbling with excitement. Janira Gavix, head initiate of the Pathfinder Society, grins. "Oh, I'm so glad you made it! After all, the celebration is for you! Have you gotten drinks, snacks? Be sure to spend some time getting to know everyone. It's best to be on good terms with the movers and shakers in the society. That's how you learn about the latest opportunities. I'll be here for you if you need me to help you with anything or anyone's names or make an introduction or whatever it is you want. Just let me know I can help." Janira
We
gestures.
love some introductions.
Oh. With that, Janira gestures everyone forward into the room, beaming all the while. "I could certainly do that. Why don't we just start over here and I'll introduce you to the first of the notables, the faction leaders. I'm sure you'd like to get to know them." And with that, she kind of leads you along to, you'll get a chance to meet the first one. I kind of mentioned her before. The half-orc, kind of sailor-looking woman, and she'll kind of draw you over there, chattering kind of insistently along the way about anything and everything that crosses her mind. But eventually you get over to who she introduced you as, Calistro Bennery. And let me get you the picture of... Wait. Why did that not share? Because I hit the wrong button. Do-do. So there's Calistro. And so... oh my gosh. I already... the little halfling. Janira. Her name slipped my mind real quick. I probably should keep her up there so I can have her picture here on the side, so I don't have to try to remember these characters. But yeah, you were introduced to Calistro Bennery by Janira, who's like, "Here you go. Here's Calistro, very important member and of the Horizon Hunters. If any of you are a part of that, I'm sure you've at least heard of her if you haven't had a chance to really get to know her. But she's here to guide anyone who's part of that, or anyone who just wants to know a little bit more about the Horizon Hunters and some of their needs." And with that, you could see
Oh, that's me.
yeah, Calistro smiles and is like, "Hi, y'all."
Howdy. It's
Hello.
an honor to meet you.
Well, it's great to see new initiates come along here, even though we're far from the sea right now. Uh, I always like to find those who can still taste the ocean on the air and stuff. But Horizon Hunters are a lot more than that. But, in a night like tonight, it's, about having a good time, having a good drink. If any of you are interested, I have something that's a little sharper than the drink you'll be getting from the others. I can slip a little of something into your little cups there and give you a little bit of a boost if you're interested.
All right, give me a shot.
With that, she has no problem. She
Always
has,
up for a good time.
yeah, she has like a little spicer upper, as she calls it, a little tip flask that she uses to pour a little generous splash of whatever happens to be in there. You can imagine it's going to be relatively strong. You could see engraving on the side of it is a ship that's fairly iconic and known to be hers, called the Grinning Pixie. So that catches your attention. But she's more interested in hearing what you guys say. Now, as she stands there, she's also surrounded by a few others, other attendees who are also kind of trying to get her attention. Now, whether or not you want to fight for her, I mean, like compete for the attention as she's trying to converse with some of the others. The one that happens to be here is a tall man with a kind of meticulously groomed hair and mutton chops. You kind of recognize him as runs the daily operations at the Grand Lodge. His name's Ambrose Valson. Venture Captain Valson's kind of known to be a fairly stern guy and kind of books no nonsense. And he's kind of talking with Calistro about, some of these upstarts are, they don't know how to pay respect to their elders and sometimes don't even take care of the things that they're told to take care of. Don't probably care for their equipment and stuff, and just makes me wonder if we're bringing in, recruits worth their salt. Calistro, kind of chuckles and says, "Oh, you're always so hard on them. I wouldn't worry about it too much. We were young once, and come on, maybe a little bone warmer here will loosen you up a little bit." And he's like, "Oh, this is still a function, not something we should be, getting staggered over." And they kind of go back and forth about,
I'm gonna try to just kind of like punch in there a little bit and be like, you know what? I think I'm worth my salt. I'm also worth the pepper too.
Got a comedian amongst us, eh? But you can see Calistro kind of
But I
chuckles
do
at it.
respect my elders.
Ah,
I give a little like cheer to him, like I raise my glass and go, "Here's to all who've come before, all who are still here, all who will come after." Boom.
All right,
Yeah.
I can. That'll give a drink to. Calistro's like, well, anything that allow us to enjoy the evening a little more, and a reason to fill the cups once more, wouldn't you say? And with that, she
Pretty good stuff. You
yeah,
guys should try it.
she tries to pour a little bit in, but Ambrose doesn't seem to be as interested, the venture captain. But he's like willing to take Garrick aside and talk to him a little bit and said, "Well, you think you're worth your salt and pepper. Let me see how you take care of your weapons. You're obviously a young man of the blades." And so he wants to kind of inspect how your caretaking of all that stuff.
Okay.
So while those two are off on the side, does anyone want to interact with Calistro?
Will you tell us about the other people in the room?
Well, a lot of them are all, have their all agendas and stuff. Yondo Klein, there's the Vigilant Seal. Um, you know, I could say he's a he's good folks. I wouldn't wouldn't say anything unkind about him. He's got a long history with the society, long before I had been aboard. Um, but if you're certainly a member of the Vigilant Seal, he's certainly one to get to know. Um, Over there, you'll see the flower adorned Fola. She might look a delicate thing, but I assure you that the half elf there, she's this, a strong and fierce leader, and does well for the Envoys Alliance. Of course, the Gorm I enjoy because he's, when it's time, when your ship, when the sea's no longer under you and the waves are no longer rolling around, you want to have, someone to share some tales and jokes and drinks with, and I'll tell you, Gorm is definitely one to do that with. But I'd like to hear more about you. What brings you here, young Catwoman?
I'm just exploring the world. Us cat people were of a curious nature.
Well, if you're curious, um, perhaps you could do something for me and the Horizon Hunters.
What might that be?
Well, there's a wrecked ship recently cycled to the surface in Flotsam Graveyard out in the bay there, with signs in it that it might date back to the original silent trade invasion. That was, as young as you are, you may not know much of the histories, but I'm sure the society could help you along with that. But I'll let you know, it was a naval operation by the Taldans, operas known as the Black Echelon. It was an effort to take control of Absalon. Obviously, it didn't end well for them, but uh, this newly uncovered vessel, why, it would be quite, a great thing to discover from another era. Something maybe a group of Pathfinder agents could, investigate, find out whether or not it really is from that past age. Um, but I must warn you that there were those who originally discovered it and said that there was something on board that was frightening. And while I couldn't get any account of what it might have been, they are definitely scared by it, and I fear we're going to need someone with a little backbone to be able to get in there and find out, uh, what's aboard there, whether or not it's what we expect it to be, and report on whether or not there's real uh, proof behind the rumor. And if you ask,
Well, we ourselves do not have a vessel to go out into the bay. Would there be somebody who would outfit us with this?
well, I know we can get those to get you out, by boat. The small uh, settler one that might be able to get there with relative ease without having to worry about the larger vessels in the area. We can get you out there. It's not, because it's sort of a boating graveyard, there's not a lot of traffic out there anyway. But yeah, I think if it really has come to the surface, which is in and of itself a very interesting thing, why, who knows, maybe that thing is even seaworthy and you can return in style, shall we say.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's real big salvage then. Get the whole ship.
Other than that, uh, she's kind of gives a little wink to Kiss and says, you know, I thought maybe I could offer you a little something for the trip if you're willing to take this up.
Oh?
Yeah. And she gives a little laughs, and then she kind of from she's got it like her little belt along with her hip flasks, or the one that was obviously her spicer upper. She pulls out another little flask and kind of hands it to you and says, you might really need to get back on your feet. This might be just the thing to do it for you. And kind of hands it over to you. I'm going
And
to.
what does it do?
Oh, well, like I said, if you're feeling a little down, this one will help you stand right back up.
I whispered. Oh, nobody's here. Other than yes, huh? Chef, you weren't with us last time, but oh well.
I'll throw it in your guys' parcel for now.
Sounds like something useful.
You could certainly look it over later if you want to try it. It would, if someone with the ability to identify magic, their cane, something like that, might be able to look into it. But you could kind of guess at it from her hints too.
Yeah, I know. That's the hints. The hints point to healing, but who knows? I yeah. I don't know, Shepard. Does that sound like something you'd want to do?
I'm gone.
Where'd you go?
He has terrible social
People skill.
anxiety. He found a balcony or a library or some quiet little corner. He's just gonna sit there and stare at the wall.
Oh, I was. Oh,
He's out on the balcony, getting fresh air, looking at the phoenixes, wondering how tough they would be if you ever got in a fight with one of them. So with that, you get the impression she sort of expects you now to go take on that task at the Flotsam graveyard.
yeah, sure.
I didn't see why not.
Yeah, you got your sea legs, right, Kiss?
I always have great legs.
So with that, Janira comes on and goes, "Oh, well, it looks like you got along with Callisto really well. Why don't I take you over Aindo Klein? He's with the Vigilant Seal, I think. I don't know if any of you are a part of it, but he's certainly someone worth getting to know. He's important around here, and he puts a lot of faith into the rank and file agents, and so, earning his trust and getting to, ingratiate yourself with him is going to be a great thing indeed. So why don't we scoot on over there, and I'll let you meet him."
Let me go see if I can find Shepard. I'll meet you over there.
Right.
Alright. So you try to drag him over and say, "Look, I just got to make an appearance here, right?"
Yeah.
Stealth check.
You can hide behind me.
Yeah, look at that. He actually did pretty well. And you can see over there that stern human Taldan, bit of a scar on his face and stuff. And he's like, good to see you. We got some more new recruits here. Looks like a fine group there, although certainly of different descents than some of the rank and file. But it's always good to see new blood here. I expect we'll be able to get great things out of those, especially as diverse as you look. It'll offer many new avenues that maybe people who grow up from our more normal areas, their expectations would be a little more common. So I could see a lot of great things possible in all you guys. So as he's there, you could see, he does a decent, obviously he's nicely introduced and all that. You also tell you guys are sharing again the kind of that spotlight with someone else. Someone by the name of Urwal is also over here trying to get the attention of Indo. Indo, yeah, I think that's how you say his name. So who would I say? Arwal. He's unusual. You haven't really don't know really much about him other than he's suddenly kind of become a bit of a fixture of life at the Grand Lodge. Best known for his unrequested yet benign intrusions Like rumor has it, he broke into Crichton Shane's office, drop off a stacks of Pathfinder Chronicle riddles with corrections and commentary on it. That kind of filtered throughout the whole lodge. He's a lizard folk, which makes him a lot different than most. But again, you guys have a Catwoman and an orc, so you know what it's like to be a little bit of an outsider. Um, but yeah, it seems like like if there's a poster up for like reports or jobs seeking agents to go after, he's the one that kind of comes around and does corrections. It's like kind of the spell checker of the lodge. uh, he also has this said to have this deep connection with nature. It spends time talking about the stars and what it might mean, and how the natural wonders of the world might actually mean more than just the simple things. And as you guys come over, he's talking about like some of the ways to survive, and how to deal with some of the natural challenges that come with some of the mountainous terrains that have been less explored. So the Pathfinder Society has been always very interested in it, and so he's like like we're gonna be out there into the you know the higher reaches where the it can freeze the sap in trees. We're gonna have to know more about how to protect our agents from being injured or worse. So they're kind of in a deep conversation about that. If you guys want to try to interject or show off any of your knowledge on surviving, or mountainless lore, or just your knowledge in nature, you could join in the conversation, or you could just wait until Aindo kind of has a little bit of a break and jump in then.
Well, I know the cleric we were with. She may be interested in that. But...
Oh, that's right. That's true. Since we're waiting for her to show up, our
But in her
shoeless
action,
halfling, yeah.
I can try to make good with Yando Klein.
All right. So Yando
Hey.
himself seems to be trying to steer the conversation in a different direction.
I'll pick up on that.
All right. And you could hear that he's talking about, it's like, oh, that's all really very good, but I'd like to, look into some of the, the issues we have closer at hand, and maybe these young folk here might be, interested in looking into it, because those mountains and stuff, they're far enough away that I don't have to worry about them right now, and let's worry about that when we have some young folk to send up there. We have and he turns to you guys. He said, we have a researcher from the College of Mysteries has unearthed some esoteric lore and has begun experimenting with some rituals she found within. These rituals seem, honestly, particularly dangerous. Enough so that some of her colleagues are concerned about her efforts. So, if you guys are, interested in heading over to the College of Mysteries, I think I'd like you to track her down, determine whether or not these rituals she's studying are under control, or if they're too dangerous. I could see that at least, dealing with the dangers that she may be involved, and maybe your young halfling here with you all has some knowledge on. Oh, and it looks like based on some of the indicators I see on the Catwoman. You have some skill when it comes to the spellcasting arts there, do you not? I believe your name is Kiss, if what I've heard about you is correct.
Yes, I do.
So hoping that we could get someone over there who might have an idea what she's getting into to investigate it. So um, we can give you more information if you want to know if you're not familiar with the College of Mysteries. But other than that, yeah, it would be really great if you could find out whether this young researcher had not gotten herself in over her head.
We are happy to help, but
That's
I think we do need more information.
Well, I'll certainly have someone fill you in the details, at least get you knowledge of what's over there. From what the reports I've gotten, I'm not sure there's, more than just that she's kind of closed herself in and is toying around with things and not even really wanting, too many people to interfere. But I need someone. I mean, honestly, it's nothing against them, but a lot of the researchers and a lot of the young folk at the college are not, let's say, aggressive enough to stand in and try to protect someone from themselves, and that's where I think one of the society might be best suited for it.
oh
Either to
yeah.
calm or bring her to her senses, someone with the ability to navigate sort of the social interactions that come with people that are very passionate, or even if necessary, let's face it, if you have to restrain her to keep her from doing something, you know, exceptionally dangerous, then we need someone with the ability to do that too. Again, it's more about protecting her and those around her from involving in anything particularly dangerous, and not so much about punishing her for doing something wrong. We know curiosity uh, is something that can pull all of us in dangerous directions. It's just a question of whether or not she's capable of handling it on her own.
That's not that far from here, right?
No, no, it's right here in Absalom, which I'll
Yeah.
show you a picture, but it doesn't really give you much details, by the way. Here is
Oh, look at that.
Absalom. Decently
Yeah,
sized
I
city.
I know those researchers. Yeah, they think a lot. They get wrapped up in their own thoughts, and yeah, sometimes it's not so good. Action's always a little bit more my style than thinking.
Uh, Speaking of action, and there goes our wall again. I still say we need to act about this mountainous terrain. And he kind of once again grabs uh, Iando's ear, and those two get into another sort of, not heated, because that would actually be an oxymoron in this case. But the conversation is cooled towards you guys, we'll say. And with that kind of has Janira kind of slipping in there saying, well, it looks like they're busy. Why don't we go over and see what Fola's up to? Hey, you'll definitely want to get to know her of the Envoys Alliance. Um, and with that, she takes you over to the sort of tattooed, flowery woman that you saw before. Definitely half elf with sort of a darker skin. Um, Obviously, she's a relatively pretty woman. Um, and you get introduced to her, who's kind of greets you guys warmly. She's like, "Ah, welcome. I've, excited to see so many new agents come along here. Offer so much brightness and so much joy to us to see those, new society members that are, willing to go out and do the society's great work and become, agents for a better world, which is the society's, primary goal. Gather knowledge, learn that which is, dangerous, that which is aidful. In general, just, you know, make this, use knowledge and exploration to make the world better for all of us. And you had seen her when you came in because she was sort of the one that greeted everybody as you guys first rolled in before she um, kind of went off to the side here, giving you an opportunity to get to know her as she got herself, some food and a drink. But she's definitely, she's sort of a calming presence and very, very friendly. But she's also, again, like just about everybody here, involved with with someone who's definitely trying to get her attention. Uh, and the person you see there, if I could go down and find the other participants, is someone by the name of Serena Westier. Um, Serena, is the master of spells, which someone like Kiss would be very familiar with. She teaches initiates about how to wield, identify, and evade magic threats. I could definitely show my Harry Potter nerdness by saying Defense Against the Dark Arts. Anyone? She's kind of a Oread woman with a slate gray skin and silvery white hair, so she's very distinctive. But she's unparalleled expert in her field. Anything Kiss, especially, or holy cow, Linnell.
Now that's
Yeah,
their name.
Linnell had any inquiries in about some of the magics they're both getting involved in. Even while Linnell's is more divine, and Kiss's is more, I believe, occult. She's knows so much about all properties and all avenues of spellcasting that she's been an invaluable resource for you guys if you've gotten used to the society. While she's here, though, she's like, like, here's some of my better students here. I recognize you, Kiss. Why don't you show off a little bit for me? Do you remember any of my teachings on nature, perhaps? I've been asking Fola here some insightful questions and telling her how much, some of my younger students have managed to pick up on this. And I'm wondering whether or not you could show off that, or maybe some of your planar knowledge from the arcane, or anything else you want to show your knowledge in.
Well, I could probably tell you a little bit about occultism if you like.
Yeah, well,
If
why
you'd
don't
like
you?
to ask me a question from that.
Yeah, sure. And so with that, she's trying to explain to Fola, she's about how often occultism has been given sort of a bad rap of people associated with some of the the darker magics, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that at all. And she says, here's an example here with Kiss, and she could tell you all sorts of things about this. To make it a little bit easier on you, why don't you just throw down your occultism skill check, and all right. So you're a little bit late in the night and you've had a little bit to drink, so your knowledge isn't quite as strong as it might have been on other days, but you certainly try to do your best to give out some of the information um, that you've learned. And with that, Serena says, well, it's a few minor points there, Kiss, that I think we can do a little bit about that help you, uh, bone up on some of the parts you missed there. With that, she kind of takes you aside to do a little bit of private conversation, if you're willing.
Of course, I'm willing.
So you two go off, and she starts talking about some of the finer points or some of the areas of your teachings that you might have missed, leaving you guys with Fola, who's kind of asks, how Linnell obviously being there, is just very shy tonight. And we know Shepard is definitely a wallflower. Um, but you could tell Garrick's a little more conversational. And as I was like, you've been enjoying this here so far. Have you found everything be very welcoming? I hope the food. Well, as a matter of fact, I might even be hoping that Calistro hasn't been giving you too much of her special sauce, shall we say.
Well, I think just enough. To tell you the truth. I'm having a nice time here,
Well,
and it's great to meet you too.
yes, I'm very happy to hear that. And if you don't mind, I'd like to bring to your attention something that I think you might even be able to help me with, given the circumstances and the trust, and even the fact that I've heard that you guys have shown some promise in helping out those, bring those that items from, I think it was Mwangi or perhaps somewhere down south, anyways, safely to town. There's, well, I don't know, there was, I don't know if you remember, but there was the charge of the Gorgon. If you remember, smuggling forbidden item into the city, and one of our pathfinders was petrified during it. And
Oops.
while the Azalanti, the Gilmen, if you might know of them, um, recovered the relic that had been problematic for our pathfinder, uh, at the society's request, well, the item that was confiscated by the city and returned to the Gilman to watch over the site. I just think the society should take responsibility for getting our Pathfinder, one of our own, back and restored. So the poor soul's still there in stone form, and I'm sure with a rather shocked look on their face. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to find someone that could help us, well, at least our legal team, to find a way to get permission to restore the victim. And I know for a lot of society members, they're looking for, you know, something more daring, but I need some people who are that believe in the society's call and believes in the importance of each society member and how we're all, of one big collective, and that, when one of us falls, it falls on the rest of us to do our best to protect that person, or at least, see that their fate comes to the best possible conclusion. So I'd like, if possible, I have a salve of anti-paralysis that can be that I would obviously strongly state that it has to be used only on that target and not saved or anything. But to take that and the desire to see it, worked upon our poor fallen Pathfinder, and see whether or not you can convince the Gilman to allow us to do this. And that, as foolish as it may have been, I believe that they've paid enough of a penalty for their folly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, we would do this, but there's a lot of people needing things done. It's like, I don't know how to fit it into the schedule.
Well, you have the time to take. It's not as if any of these have immediate. At least I know this. The fallen Pathfinder is not going to get up and walk away on us. Let's put it that way. And
Uh-huh.
because I believe this is something that's going to be more about your ability to convince, or even come up with ideas. To be honest, I wouldn't even care if you spun a wild tale that convinced them that it was necessary to release our poor Pathfinder.
I like the story you told. I thought it was really good.
um,
Any fallen member, anyone needs to be recovered.
so I would like, if if you guys are if you're willing, I'd like to even offer you something that will help you in perhaps convincing those that this is the necessary thing. And she pulls out another kind of flask with a very silvery liquid in it, and says, "Oh, this will make you a little more convincing and make words come to your tongue a little smoother. So, if you're willing, I'd like to give you this for your efforts going forward."
Why, thank you so much.
Well, that one is identified already. You can tell it's a silver tongue mutagen. We've
Boy.
heard of those things before.
Look at that.
So with that, Janira shows back up and says, "Oh, how exciting! Look at you guys go! You're taking on all sorts of things. I wonder where you're going to get all the time. I guess you just have to be up and up and up in the early days and get to these things. It sounds like you can do them over any amount of time, but I'm guessing you could probably get to it, over a few days if you don't want to. But I don't know. Maybe you could go all do it another, all at one time. Maybe in one day you can get out there and just really so go 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 go. I don't know. You guys look pretty capable. What do you say we go out and meet Gorndo? What do you think, huh?"
Sure, why not? Can I get another drink while we're doing this?
Can we swing by?
Go back to Calypso, get a little
Yeah, like, hey, can you stop it?
Thank you.
There you go. I'd like to see someone who knows how to keep a little wave in the blood too. And she lets out a laugh. Wonders if anybody else is interested in a little more of her, or spice her upper.
Try this, Shep. It's really good. Come on.
Look at no peer pressure. Just here, try a little. But Kiss Shepherd, I don't know it in Linnell's. She's a halfling. She might be a little bit fun-loving, so we'll assume she's had a little bit of it.
Woohoo.
But you guys can head over to Gorm, where you can see some conversation right now with someone you recognize, and this is Gorm. Kind of a jovial guy, supposed to be good-natured. He's capable of, spinning some yarns, telling some tales. Certainly a musician of some note. And right now he's kind of in conversation with someone known as Zarta Dralneen. Someone who's kind of come here almost as a sort of a political refugee. A Chilaxian who was falsely accused and condemned, who has managed to, with the aid of society, escape a fate that was certainly unwarranted. And Zarta is kind of a capable, definitely a capable woman, very good at rooting out dangerous artifacts, and you actually might have even been, I think Zarta would have been the one. Yeah, you had met Zarta in the recovering that cursed sea artifact. She was part of the group that was sending you out there. So seeing her there, you're kind of like, oh yeah, Zarta. And there was some question whether or not Zarta might stay with it, but it looks like, based on what you've seen, especially some of the conversations about where she thinks society could aid greater, offer greater aid for some of these things like that relic you guys helped bring to safety, and in her new capacity as head archivist, you could tell that she's trying to convince Gorm that there's more like that out there, and that it should be something that the Pathfinder Society agents should be focusing in on, because not only is some of it powerful and dangerous, but there might be other beneficial things out there that have been lost that might make the society stronger, and offer greater aid to even some of the nations that seek the society's help. But when you guys come over, Zarta's ah, here's some of the heroes that helped recover it, even one recently. And with Gorm there, he's like, good to see you all. It looks as though you guys are enjoying the party quite a bit. Why don't you, come along up here and have a little bit of fun, maybe perhaps, we could share a dance and enjoy hearing some of the trials that you guys have been on. So you had been the heroes, I heard, that managed to get through the Immenwood there with, some awful attacks by nature, whirlwinds and whatnot descending upon you, tearing at the things, but you still managed to bring the wagon, at least in the most part, all the way home.
Yes, we did. We really, had our hands full, but we made it back.
Ah, it must have been much more exciting to just our hands full. Like, sounds like something you could, spin a great tale out of. It's something maybe that could be, recorded by the bards of the area. Surely you can augment it more than that.
Yeah. Well, the most important part and the most interesting part was really at the end. When we were back safe. I mean, there was this weird centaur dude with, you know, he, we, we got away from him.
Ah,
Uh,
yes. I suppose you'll run into those, magic types. What can you say? They're
the
always.
rest was kind of mundane, actually. Like birds and like you said, the wind things. It's just, I don't know. But that centaur guy, he looked pretty cool. But yeah, we're just glad we were able to get back.
Well, you certainly sound like the brave lot. But, you know, come to think of it, and Zarta's like, oh, yes, indeed, the tales from that and um, the dangers they had faced uh, were quite extraordinary. I'm sure there's more to that there until come to think of it. Um, and for that matter, I guess I'm going to rely on Kiss since Linnell's not here. Um, she says, "Would you like to step aside, maybe talk about some of occult, uh, the occult properties you might have felt coming from that particular item? I haven't had a chance, to really interview you since you guys came back. I've been so busy with the new position. But if you're willing, we could discuss what the scales properties were and what you might have felt related to the occult side of things that may have augmented its features.
You like?
So if you want, you could throw down an occultism check to see how well you remember what you picked up on that trip, and you guys could say, wow.
Particularly bad rolls today.
Yeah, it was covered most of the time, and
I'm not going to
So
suggest you
good.
use.
I
I
didn't really
see
see
it
that
all.
This is a good time to say we get a hero point.
Yeah, did you want to use your hero point up? Do it. Wait,
I think I better.
I don't remember. Did you have a cat's luck? What is that used on? I don't. You could reroll a triggering saving throw. That's a saving throw one. Nope, just for your reflexes. Yes. If you want to pop your hero point and don't want to look like
I
a
did.
complete brainless. All right.
Yeah, geez, so much better.
Hey, you tipped over 10.
Yeah,
That's
look
cool.
at that. You went from a critical fail to just sort of a unimpressive, like, well, this is sort of what I remember. So while you could tell Zarta's listed the kiss on the side and like, oh my goodness, she doesn't remember anything. Um, Maybe the wind and the rain, battered her about a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell the story about how Kiss was so amazing, and she was able to like repel so many of these creatures and all. She didn't really have that much time to even like
Study.
get close to this thing. We had to keep everything away from that thing. That's what
I'm
we were
liking
doing.
you more and more.
So the Gorm's like, wow, that's quite interesting. It sounds like you guys are certainly ready to take on hazards most balk at. So perhaps we can give her a chance to remember, something with a little more detail then, because I know of this particularly collapsed house in the Precipice Quarter. It's been long rumored to be haunted, and you know how those tales go. I mean, who doesn't love a tremendous ghost story? But it's been marked for demolition in the next few days, and that's a concern to me. I mean, I understand that it was severely damaged in the earthquake. What was that, 4698? Uh, but the rumors of strange activity there long predate the quake, so it has nothing to do with that event. So, rather than see, perhaps something of, you know, at least interest, perhaps a history that's been lost, or a spirit that, that has some significance to it, I'd hate to see it be buried under under the rubble and the destruction that comes with a demolition. So, if you guys could maybe manage to get out there and investigate that old collapsed building, I can have someone indicate where you could find it and direct you there. And maybe you could dig around and see if there's any history or even any spiritual energies there that can be found before we lose it to such a kind of a brutal way to deal with a problem.
Sounds good, right, Kiss? You want to speak to spirits?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
My people see them all the time.
Um, so he's glad to hear that. Um, then that kind of brings Zarta back in. It almost looked like you wanted to say something else, but Zarta, who for whatever reason got a little bit bored with Kiss's recount, came back rather quickly and was like, no, really, we need to talk about this. And that's very interesting. I'm sure they could do a great job with this, but let's talk about some of these other things. I mean, that's just a simple ghost story that's often augmented with no real cause to it. But we could certainly talk about some of the greater mysteries that are out there that maybe we should be paying attention to. And with that, you kind of get the feeling that those two have like lowered their heads and are in a deep conversation together. And with that, maybe Generic comes back over and says, "Well, looks like you've gotten a chance to meet at least some of them, but the party time's kind of wrapping up here, and it's probably a good time to make sure you get some food. If you are interested in some of the dance and stuff, it's just time to go. Have some fun. I can see the hours approaching when the leadership's about to go, but you're more than welcome to stay here and enjoy the festive natures and have that. But I will remind you that if you got things you need to do, I wouldn't spend 2 nights doing this because I've seen a few of them. They get in there and by the next morning you have to drag them out of bed and they're not much fit for doing any of their duties. But I'm not going to tell you not to do it because after all, it's your life. So
Well,
Why,
let's just
thank
party
you.
a little bit more, and then we can try to get one of these things done sometime.
um, and you give a chance to enjoy the festivities, get your fill of food. You'll certainly there have been other initiates there that obviously not worth naming by name, um, that you
The
you
named
guys have met.
ones.
You might even come across Hundar if he hasn't already left for a different mission during this. But eventually, if you're getting your fill of whatever celebrations you want to be a part of, the night rolls on, and you guys can all um, get to a good night's sleep. Was there anything else you guys wanted to do before you started considering those kind of different goals that were set before you?
Well, we should probably just, talk about this together. How can we accomplish these goals, all of them?
And figure out what supplies we might need.
Yeah, well, especially if our cleric friend is busy.
Other than that, what do you guys want to do about it? You guys can at least kind of start to make plans. We're getting a little bit late in
Yeah,
this session since we
yeah.
started late.
I
Um,
mean, I don't know, guys. I mean, I'd really like to get on that boat thing, but that seems like it's going to take the longest amount of time.
Agreed.
The others, maybe we can check out that researcher quickly,
That sounds like a good plan.
early, and then see if we can get that done with, and then, maybe investigate that collapsed house, since there's a time limit on
well,
that.
it's not collapsed yet, but yes, it's about to be demolished in
Oh,
2 or 3.
collapsing.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's been damaged by an earthquake, so you'll definitely have to
Damage.
be careful going through it. But
Oh, and then the fallen man, huh? We have to convince the town board? Who do we have to convince?
the Azarkati, which are the Gillmen, they're sort of
Oh, the Gilman.
amphibious humans in a way.
Are these the ones that where it's in their territory? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the the fallen one was in their area, and um, they demanded to have that relic back, and the unfortunate Pathfinder has kind of paid the ultimate price for doing this charge of the Gorgon little event, as they are obviously been petrified. But you probably learn a little bit more about that as you approach and try to work with them to try to convince them to allow him to be restored. Assuming it's him, I actually don't know, to be honest.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? We get a night's sleep. We go out tomorrow. We
What's that?
we get the
What time of day is it?
This party was at night, so you'll definitely be doing it.
Okay.
We'll
yeah
be starting these missions on the next day.
yeah. I mean, the researcher thing shouldn't be so bad.
The boat
Right.
can wait.
The boat can wait
The
probably.
earthquake and the researcher.
Yeah, I think those are the first two definitely. So let's do researcher, and then we'll swing by that collapsed house or the house that's damaged. Maybe we can swoop those out all